18% of the genetic material in your body you share with baker's yeast. 24% of the genetic material in your body you share with a wine grape. 38% with a roundworm. 44% with a honeybee. 65% with a chicken. 69% with a platypus. 73% with a zebrafish. 84% with a dog. 85% with a cow. And 88% with a mouse. And 90% with a chimp. In addition to that, your body temple is 96% stardust. 96% stardust. Our theme this month here at HeartSpace is kinship with all life, and we are sharing this monthly theme with our parent organization, our umbrella organization called the Centers for Spiritual Living. And it is part of the global vision of the Centers for Spiritual Living that we see a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life. And so as part of the actualization of that theme this year, we are talking about kinship with all life this month. Who knows what e pluribus unum means? Okay. And what's the opposite of that? That's not Latin. It's e pluribus unum, and then the opposite is ex uno plurus. Out of one, many. Out of many, one. And so I want you guys to indulge me for a few minutes in a sort of an obscure theological concept. I'm a really big fan of something called integral theory. And integral theory has this idea, one of many, many, many ideas, that we can essentially look at the pursuit of spirituality, as the path of spirituality, as one of two ways. One they call the ascending path, and the other one is called the descending path. Now, let me unpack that just a little bit. In its extreme form, the ascending path has to do with transcending this existence, right? So we want to move beyond this spoiled, maybe, existence or imperfect existence to get to a more perfect place. And this can be heaven in the Western traditions, or it can be a heightened meditative experience in the Eastern traditions. That's the ascending path. Then there's the descending path. The descending path is, well, it says that we experience things, wholeness, reality with a big R. We experience that here and now, in, as, and through plants, trees, people, minerals, everything. And it is the path of experiencing the divine close to the ground. Is everybody with me so far? Okay. So oftentimes when we talk about the science of mind and spirit, this philosophy and teaching that we are in, it feels to me like we're talking about the ascending path, right? So we're going to do our treatment work. We are going to do our affirmations. We're going to do all those things because it's going to get us to a more perfect place. And it does. It does. But the more perfect place is here, right? It's about experiencing heaven on earth, not getting to a place where we're detached or hovering above the grit and grime and grace of everyday life. And so, interestingly enough, this thing that we teach, the science of mind spirits, it's actually pretty advanced in the sense that it combines both the ascending path and the descending path. Those two paths are often characterized by, well, for obvious reasons. The ascending path is often called the masculine, has a masculine quality to it. Why? It's directional. The descending path is sometimes called the path of the feminine because rather than reaching up, it reaches out. It connects everything. And like so much that we associate with the divine feminine, it is sometimes messy. It's sometimes, you can touch it, and I'm so out of words to try to describe to you this internal experience that I'm having right now. It's the path of connection. It's the path of grit. I don't know how else to say it. It's real. You can touch it. It's the path of the senses, too. And so we're actually going to spend this month and then next month on the descending path. This month is a kinship with all life. We're going to celebrate Earth Day later in the month. And the next month, we're going to do the soul of sex. Sex. We're going to do the soul of sex. Right? We're going to get gritty. Okay, you're right. I did start. Okay, so let me read you a quote. Nasty people. This is an Ernest Holmes quote. It's really from a little booklet called "Freedom from Stress." We see that the first principle of life is oneness. The first performance of life is multiplying itself without dividing itself. Life must be one, and that one, in order to be expressed, must be many. But the many, in order to exist, must live in the one. Consequently, we are one even while we are many. And since each of us is a part of the whole, if we seek to destroy each other, we ultimately hurt ourselves. This is the great lesson of life. So you can see very clearly when Holmes is speaking there, or writing there, that there's this elegance, this dynamism between the many and the one and the many. And for us, what that means is that, and you guys have heard me say this, but like I'm hoping, let me say it again. So if there is an infinite power and presence that we call God, Spirit, whatever, the all, the one, if it's infinite, then it must infinitely express. Because if it stops expressing, it's not infinite anymore. If there's something outside of it, it's not infinite anymore. The one must infinitely express as the many, and the many are the one. So if we follow the path of the senses, which is ultimately, that's actually what science is, right? It's the gift of the senses, right? Because we measure things, we touch things, we look at things. There's this amazing life around us, and all of our sciences seek to measure and understand that. But the thing is, that, when you're trying to understand something, we have this human tendency to reduce all of the variables. Right? So, well, I want to study just this one thing. And so I need to isolate it from everything else. so I can study it, right? Because then I know if I'm actually getting what I'm actually getting. So in an attempt to understand the world around us, to come into appreciation and sometimes even control for the world around us, the world inside of us, we have reduced things to their lowest common denominator, or reduced them to their smallest isness. But there's like this huge issue with that. The issue is that the whole is always going to be greater than the sum of its parts, and the whole is always going to be more beautiful than the sum of its parts. And it's always going to be more elegant than the sum of its parts. It's always going to be more loving than the sum of its parts. There's a guy named Philip Shepard that wrote a book called New Self, New World. And he says this: all our modern scientific endeavors have been aimed at knowing the universe in part, because it's unscientific to feel the whole. Scientists have been striving to find the smallest unit of existence, from the atom to the cork to the string, when in fact the smallest unit of existence is the cosmos itself. It is an indivisible whole. Nothing exists independent of it or can be divided from it. Thing is, you notice here where he says, because it's unscientific to feel the whole. Here's the thing. The only way to experience your kinship with all of life is to expand into it. And that is a very embodied experience. I mean, you can think about it. You could think about the whole, one little piece at a time. But you can't stretch your beingness into that allness unless you are feeling it. And of course, the problem with dividing things into their lowest common denominator and sorting them and moving them around is that we begin to see them as something separate from us. And when something is separate from us, we sometimes, there's a risk of moving it further out there so that it's completely other. And when something is completely other, pretty soon it's easy to squash it, hate it, use it, abuse it, because, hey, it's got nothing to do with me. And so the process of for us, in this descending exploration of life with a capital L, is to begin to live and expand into this whole web of existence. So when Michael was opening our time together, how many of y'all felt that? Now, can you explain what you felt? Ashe, spirit, expansion, energy. Say again, sir. Connection. One. Right. That's about as much as you could say about it. Like, I don't know, sort of, you could just sort of feel it, and it just like made me tingle, or my hands were vibrating, or as soon as you try to put it into words, just lets all the wind out of it. Just because it's an experience. It's something you have to be in the flesh for. You got to be here. I went scuba diving. Actually, this happened to me snorkeling, and some of y'all have heard this story. I had my first actual spiritual experience snorkeling. And I was in Cozumel, and the water was like 84 degrees, and, salt water's dense, so I'm floating on the top, and I had a snorkel, and so I don't know if you've ever snorkeled, you know that as you breathe, you can hear the travel of the air. It goes. So I'm floating by myself in this salt water, and my breath is mesmerizing me. And I'm looking at this sunken barrel, and it has coral everywhere. And I look down, and just as I look, and it's like anything else of value in life. When you first look at the barrel, it just looks like a bunch of green, gray gunk. But as your eyes adjust, this extraordinary beauty reveals itself. So anyway, I'm looking at this barrel. I'm starting to see color. And then this thing that I later learned is called a Christmas coral unfolded itself right in front of my eyes. And when it did, I went like, poof, and disappeared. And pretty soon I was the all. Now, it scared the crap out of my little bitty ego, and I jumped back into my body real fast there, or jumped back into my brain, because I was completely in my body. But I cannot, I can try to give you the amazement that I experienced as I recall that, but you can't have that experience. You had to be in my body. You had to be present to win. Right? And so to really experience our embodied manyness, you have to be in it. You have to be in it. And in order to be in it in a way that is fruitful and enriching, you got to quit looking at the world like this. Now I'm going to work. Now I'm going to eat. Now I'm going to read. Now I'm going to take a nap. Now I'm having a cookie. You have to actually dial back a little bit. You have to change your perspective. See from a new place. And then allow yourself to be swept up in that. And as you do, you begin to see, well, you might never see that you share 46% of your genetic material with a honeybee. But there will be something that you feel connects you to what you lay eyes on, what you lay hands on. That which is outside your head, but inside your all. Why does all this matter at all? Well, I think globally it matters because what we act as if is outside of us, it becomes okay to waste or disregard. And despite the fact that we are each of us, all of life, expressions of an infinite spirit, this is a finite expression. And so is this. Right? So we have to experience our connection to all that is so we can begin to be invested in the future of all that is and all that might come to pass or come to be. You know, this gets to be a real big idea now that I've got it's always been a big deal to me, but now that I've got a 4-year-old, it gets to be a bigger deal. Like, what am I leaving her? What part of the all am I willing to take responsibility for so that she has an all too, or knows her all? There's, y'all hang on just a second, okay? But don't talk. Yeah, okay. Holmes said, never think that you can live disconnected from that which is life. If you wish to call this conscious union with life religion, well and good, for it's the essence of every religion. If you wish to call the conscious union with the wholeness of things spirituality, well and good, for it's the very essence of spirituality. So the invitation for us, I think, is to dial back our perspectives and get out of the tiny particulars and allow ourselves to see, or grok is another word, to grok the whole, to begin to see this beautiful web that is life. I want to read y'all a couple of lines from a meditation by Kathleen Montgomery. There is a living web that runs through us to all the universe, linking us each with each and through all life onto the distant stars. Each knows a little corner of the world and lives as if this were his all. Then sometimes as we look on unawares, the fog lifts and there's the web in shimmering beauty, reaching past all horizons. We catch our breath, stretch out our eager hands, and then in comes the fog again, and we go on, feeling a little foolish, doubting what we had seen. The hands were right. The web is real. Our folly is that we so soon forget. I think I feel complete, Brad. Let's do this. So as the closing prayer for the talk, I want to share with you a blessing called Mita Kuye Oyasin, which is a Lakota phrase for all my relations. All my relations, I honor you in this circle of life with me today. I am grateful for this opportunity to acknowledge you in this prayer. To the Creator for the ultimate gift of life, I thank you. To the mineral nation that has built and maintained my bones and all foundations of life experience, I thank you. To the plant nation that sustains my organs and body and gives me healing herbs for sickness, I thank you. To the animal nation that feeds me from your own flesh and offers your loyal companionship in this walk of life, I thank you. To the human nation that shares my path as a soul upon the sacred wheel of earthly life, I thank you. To the spirit nation that guides me invisibly through the ups and downs of life and for carrying the torch of light through the ages, I thank you. To the four winds of change and growth, I thank you. You are all my relations, my relatives, without whom I would not live. We are in the circle of life together, coexisting, codependent, co-creating our destiny. One not more important than the other. One nation evolving from the other, and yet each dependent upon the one above and the one below. All of us a part of the great mystery. Thank you for this life. And so it is.